A very good afternoon and welcome to Africa and Beyond, the television network. And we are taking a look on what is happening in South Africa. EFF responded to Donald Trump, and this is something very important. We need to take a look. Donald Trump called for the arrest of Julius Malema, who is the CIC of the EFF. And in response, the EFF said that on the 21st of May 2025, US President Donald Trump called for the arrest of President and Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema. These are the beginnings of counterintelligence, disinformation, and propaganda that lead to assassinations of resistance leaders by USA as seen in history. The EFF stands with the CIC Malema. So this continues. We have seen that EFF is a political organization which has been anti, I don't know how I can explain this, but they were anti-imperialism, and they don't want colonialism to continue happen in Africa. And the Julius Malema as the leader has been so robust in parliament, demanding land, demanding accountability and equality. And we have seen white-owned organizations or white-controlled organizations, the DA and so forth. They've been trying to defend their continuous ownership of land. And the position of Malema is that we must share land. And we are looking at one thing which is very, very important. There is a concerning growing support of Julius Malema and Ibrahim Traore. These people are becoming more popular in Africa, across Africa. These individuals, they've become more popular and they are being supported by a lot of people. Why is it so? It's because they represent what a lot of people have been demanding everywhere. That is land. That is accountability. That is equality. So that is what they are demanding. And this is something which is very important. And when we look at the Pan-African solidarity and anti-colonial sentiment, these are people who have worked so much in a very short period of time to make sure that they liberate the minds of African people. So where we are going as Africa, we are going to a point where Africa is likely going to have economic independence. So political independence, yes, is there, but when we talk about economic independence, there is no economic independence, and this is what Africa is now pursuing, and this is now what Africa is pushing. So both Malema and Traore, they've positioned themselves as champions of African unity and self-determination, something which is very important. And in as much as Malema is not in power in South Africa, but the vision which the EFF is sharing, it promotes a vision of a borderless Africa. That is the same stance which is being taken by Traore. So Traore is emphasizing on national sovereignty, is emphasizing on cultural revival, economic reforms, and they want their countries to cut dependence. And it's now a broader thing. So what a lot of people are now expecting and what the global leaders do not want is a time where you are going to see the leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, sitting right next to presidents like Ibrahim Traore and other presidents of Mali, of Niger, of Guinea. They don't want such a situation to happen. So all the fight which we are seeing right now, they are trying to remain influential. They want everything to continue in the way they want it. So there is also an issue of economic empowerment, which is going around. These leaders, they are calling for economic empowerment across Africa. And once people are economically empowered, it's an advantage. So economic disenfranchisement remains a pressing issue across the continent. We are disenfranchised. That is the reason why you see Malema speaks against the Ruperts and all other people who are involved in that. And these are the same people who were called by Donald Trump to be present when Cyril Ramaphosa visited. a clear indication that these are the people who are in control of the South African economy. And South Africa, as it is, was supposed to be the best economy in Africa, was supposed to be the biggest economy in Africa, the biggest supporter of other economies across Africa. But it's failing to reach that point. Why? It's because there is a deliberate action from the powers that be. They don't want Africa to rise to such standards. That is the reason why they continue to support unpopular presidents like Cyril Ramaphosa. So the message of Ibrahim Traore, the message of Julius Malema, it also speaks about youth engagement and revolutionary appeal. They are engaging with the youth. It's an appeal to a revolution to happen. They are resonating strongly with Africa's youth. And when you look at Traore's rise to power, he is not talking because he's in power. He is actually doing things. And the revolutionary rhetoric has now become to be a revolutionary practice. So it's no longer a rhetoric. It's now a practice which is now happening. And it has garnered a lot of admiration from Africans who need change. We are seeing, if you go to Cote d'Ivoire, there were a few days ago, there were talks of an attempted coup whatsoever. It's a sign that Africans, they now want to liberate themselves. They have realized that these older dollars, these people, these leaders, they have been letting down Africa for a very long time. And they are now doing everything they can to make sure that they fight for the freedoms. And when you look at Cote d'Ivoire, its people have been accusing the government of trying to topple the Burkina Faso leadership. The same thing Burkina Faso was also accusing the same country of such. So there is need for strategic realignments and also global partnerships. So there is need to have a shift from traditional Western alliances. And when you look at Julius Malema, Ibrahim Traore, and others, they are calling to seek new international partnerships. They want to strengthen ties, probably with Russia, among other countries. But the focus must be on Africa, must be on a borderless Africa. The focus must be a strong Africa. Look at Rwanda. Rwanda is now manufacturing weapons, which means there is no need for the African continent to rely. We have so much minerals across Africa, which means we can have a single currency across Africa. We can have a single language across Africa. If we have a single language, what it means is, as we are communicating, we can hear each other without resorting to English. The reason why we resort to English is because we don't have a common language in Africa. So if you want your African brothers to hear you, you have to use English. That is the biggest problem which we have. If you go to other countries in the Western African countries or Eastern African countries, they use French. That is another problem. So you go to these countries, they use French as official languages. You go to other Southern African countries and other countries, they are using English. There is a disconnection. Imagine if we were to have one single language as Africa, one currency as Africa, and one military as Africa. And then, we have one center of power. That is the beginning of a strong Africa, an Africa which is going to be very, very strong and a united Africa. And when you look at various leaders which we have, they are against that because they don't want to be absorbed. They feel that they will be absorbed. They will feel that they won't be powerful. That is the biggest problem which we have. So they face also criticisms. If you look at Julius Malema, he's a man who faces criticism every time, and they are responding to some of the most damaging criticisms where the United States of America president wanted them arrested. Ramaphosa tried to play it down and said this is a very small party, a tiny party in South Africa. And Donald Trump says, no, this is a very big party. What is he trying to confirm right here? Is there some shenanigans being confirmed when it comes to the issues of elections? So it will need to waken up the people of South Africa to say, okay, if Donald Trump sees the EFF as a very big political party, what is really happening during the elections? So popularity alone, it brings significant challenges. When you look at Traore's government, they've been criticized for human rights abuses. They've been accused of failing to restore security in Burkina Faso. But who is causing destabilization? These are the Western powers who are funding terrorists, who are doing everything they can to make sure that there is no security in Burkina Faso and other countries. So the radical policies of Julius Malema, they are hated by these people because he is talking about equality. He's talking about ending inequality. He's talking about everybody having a fair share. That is what he's talking about. He's talking about an independent Africa. That is what they don't want, because these countries, they rely on Africa in terms of resources. If Africa unites and cuts out the whole world will have to worship Africa for them to get the much needed resources, because we have them in abundance. And Africa doesn't have an advantage. You can employ, you can bring in the Chinese who can come right here to work on technology. If you can't, you can bring in other nationals who can come to your country and they work on technology with you. You employ those people. The same way Africans are being employed to cover the gaps in European countries, we can employ all other nationalities to Africa, give them jobs so that we continue to progress as Africa. All what we need is leadership, real leadership, not the kind of leadership we have in Cyril Ramaphosa and Emerson Mnangagwa and so forth. So this is it. This is the message of EFF, a powerful response to the American president.